Welcome everybody to today's webinar. My name is Zach and my co-host here is Omar. Today we're going to be going over membership management and RI integration with a focus on that latter part, RI integration. We're going to be going through, in fact, I'll go ahead and change here. We're going to be going over a couple different topics here for today's webinar. We're going to review the RI integration service, how it works, and how we get it set up. We're going to review updating club information and club officers and how those interact with the integration services. We're going to review our compare and sync tools, which are quick tools to let you pull changes or push changes between Rotary and ClubRunner. We have one for membership management and one for club executives. We're going to take a look at all of the update logs in ClubRunner related to the integration services. So things like how, who processed membership updates, who made changes, and if there's a failure or an integration issue that we can't resolve, how you're notified of those and what you should do to resolve those. And lastly, we'll be covering some basics on membership management. Now that I've gone over the topics, I do have one small disclaimer about today's webinar. Because there's sensitive nature with Rotarian membership information and the use of the Rotary International databases, we are not showing off any production information from Rotary. So all of the information you see is going to be coming from our development systems, or at least the majority of it. And because of our current state of our development system, there's a couple things that are down right now as we're working through our week and building stuff. So there will be a couple things I won't be able to show you off how the integration service actually works, and I'll make sure I note those. It'll be pretty obvious in the webinar as well, because you guys will see the name of the club change between our development club and our production account. So yeah, I'm going to go ahead and pull down our little screen here, and I'm going to get started right at the start. So getting started right away, in order to get integration services working for a club, the first thing a club will need to do under most circumstances is go to myrotary.org. A club officer needs to do this so that absolutely beyond a shadow of doubt, your club's president, secretary, and executive secretary should have access at MyRotary to make these changes. And once the integration service is enabled the first time, you typically won't need to come back in and make any other changes at Rotary unless you have a specific need to, where you need to change the state of it from maybe from read only to update and read, or conversely from update and read to read only. So yeah, once a club has done it the first time, that integration will stay active unless you guys make any changes to it. So if you were curious how you would figure out how you enable integration and check those settings, the best place to get started on this is to clubrunnersupport.com. You can see I've already got it loaded up here. I'm going to scroll down on the page here, and I'm going to come to the Rotary International Integration section. And today we're focusing on all of the club integration. So we are going to click on that club integration section, but we also have a full overview, features for guides and articles for club executives who use their district's website, district administrators, and club administrators. So we'll click into club integration, and we can see this first article right here is the one that we want. How do we set up automatic integration with Rotary International? So because the first step is at MyRotary, we have provided the same documentation that is available at MyRotary attached in here. So your first step is to go to MyRotary, sign in, and follow the MyRotary guide. We do, like I said, we have a great copy of it right here. So I'm going to go ahead and click that. It will open it up. I'm going to zoom in just a little bit more here so you guys can see this. So first, you'd go to myrotary.org. One of your club officers, president, secretary, executive secretary for sure. They can go to myrotary.org. They will sign in and register for their account. You'll come down through the My Club section and then scroll down to Club Management and click Edit. On the Club Management Systems page, you will see an Add Vendor option. This will allow you to choose whichever club management vendor they're available. ClubRunner is definitely going to be that in that list, and it's going to allow you to set the type of access. Access to Rotary is at the club's preference. So you guys have two options. You can set view and edit, which would allow ClubRunner not only to view the information that the club has at Rotary International, but also make changes to it. So these are things like adding members, terminating members, updating your profile. If you give us view-only access, we will not be able to make any changes at Rotary International on your behalf, but we will be able to see changes at Rotary and synchronize those down with our tools. So, but at the end of the day, it is 100% up to the club on how you guys want to have that set up. Check the certification box and agree. Once you have set up your primary vendor, you guys are good to go. If ClubRunner is the only integration you're going to be doing, then we would be done with this. Now that the integration has been set up in Rotary International, we can actually start to go through ClubRunner and get these settings going. So now I'm going to be switching to our development environment. So I'm going to close our first tab here and review our RI integration settings page. So immediately you guys can see that this is currently on. I'm going to uncheck the box so you can see what the state would be by default or in a more natural state. So here in our development club of Tavistock, we can see the Rotary integration settings overview. We can see the instructions and general instructions on how to do that. The most important thing is once you make that change at My Rotary, it can take up to 24 hours in some cases for this box to be detected, like for our system to detect that the change has been made and on. In most cases, it takes about an hour, hour and a half, maybe. In some cases, you might be really lucky, but effectively throw the switch on at Rotary International, wait at least an hour, come into ClubRunner and see if the integration is available. If it's not, wait another hour and it should be available. For some reason, if it does go beyond 24 hours where the integration services aren't available, you'll absolutely want to reach out to us, let us know what's going on, and we will absolutely check and figure out and help you guys get going with that. The only other thing that might be wrong is sometimes their club ID won't be the correct club ID, and that could definitely cause a problem. But in any case, if this doesn't turn on after you've turned it in at Rotary after 24 hours, give us a call, send us an email. We'll help to work you guys through that. So I am going to agree to the terms and conditions, and I'm going to enable integration. So as soon as we check that box, we can see the status of integration at Rotary, and it is read and update. So not only can we read data at Rotary International, we can also update it and make changes to it. Scrolling down a little bit further, we have our club privacy options. So the biggest thing that I want to caution any of the clubs here looking, ideally, you guys allow all of these settings, or at the very least, really think about which settings you want to turn on and turn off. And the reason I say really think about it or really take some consideration before opting out of any of these settings is when the club chooses to opt out, the member cannot opt in. So when you say allow birthday no, even if the member enters their birthday in ClubRunner and they wanted their birthday to go to Rotary, right now the club has forbidden any birthday data from going to Rotary. That doesn't mean the Rotarian can't go to myrotary.org and manually fill that information in. It just means we won't send that data to Rotary. So I would strongly encourage you guys to check all of these boxes, and or if it's been a while and you haven't changed them and you're unsure, bring it up at the next club meeting and have a vote. Does anyone object to having their birthday sent to Rotary? And in that context, if let's just say it's a 10-member club, if 9 of the members say that they're good with it and the 10th one isn't, in that context, I would probably go and enable the birthday data to flow between both systems and specifically go into that member's profile and opt them out of sharing their birthday. Of course, the demographics of your club and the information your club and members are interested in sharing with Rotary will change. So definitely consult them before making any bulk changes, or at least give them notice. Again, I strongly encourage clubs to allow all of these options so individual members can choose to opt out, but this is your guys' preference. So these can all be managed. I will go ahead and check some of these extra options and update our privacy settings. Our last setting to go over on this page is the integration notification contact. So should a case occur where ClubRunner cannot successfully send information to Rotary and Rotary will not accept it for whatever reason, this could be, there could be any number of reasons, bad formatting. We try really hard to make sure that's not a case, but you know, maybe as a great example, you went to add a new member to your club, but that member has not been terminated from their past club yet. They're still an active member. If you tried to add that member to ClubRunner, it will succeed in ClubRunner, but it will fail at Rotary based based on their logic and criteria, a member can't be part of 2 clubs at the same time. So in that case, you would get a rejection notification from the integration archive, and it will be sent to your contact. So by default, it is the club's current year secretary every year. And you can choose whether or not to set it to a specific position that the club tracks. So for example, if the secretary is not the best person to deal with this, maybe the club has decided that it's the executive secretary's job, or they're the best person to manage this stuff year over year, they would choose the club executive secretary and hit save. Which now will be linked to the contact. Whichever contact the club executive is, whichever person rather is reported as the club executive secretary, that will be the person that takes those notifications. And of course, for some reason, if they're not specified, it will still follow. It'll still fall back on all of its old logic, and will try really hard to contact everybody else. Failing for any reason, if everybody was invalid, it'll fall back to the club's most primary administrator. So yeah, now when you guys receive those emails, we're going to talk about that a little bit longer, but I just want to note, if you ever have questions about those, when you receive those integration issue emails, you can reply back to them. They come right back to our team, and we will help you guys work through any of the issues that you're having with them and get them resolved for the system. So we are now good for the contact setting. So the next stage we're going to talk about is club information and what integrates, and officer information and, again, what integrates. So I'm going to close this tab, moving to our next tab here. So this is our club information page. You would get here normally by using the admin tab and then club info and settings. It is also a link on both of the administrative dashboards. So here we get a brief overview of the club, but the more important things are what integrates with Rotary International. So for example, your date chartered, that's a fixed piece of information at Rotary. We can't integrate that, but other things like the club's mailing address, the club's website, email, phone, fax, your club meeting schedule and meeting comments, and all of that is synchronized with Rotary. So if if our mailing address was incorrect here, I can click edit. And since this again is our development environment, things may be a little bit more slow than normal. So I'm gonna let this sit here. So for our contact information, if our mailing address is wrong, we can modify that. As soon as we hit save, it'll be queued up to be sent to Rotary International. And just so I'm seeing while this is sitting here, I'm going to refresh some of our other tabs just to make sure they're warmed up for us. So bear with me. We'll come back to those in a minute here. There we go. It got all loaded up, and thank you for bearing with me there, guys. So let's say we need to include our unit number. Our unit number for our office here is unit 400. And that's the only change I need to make. But if there were anything else wrong, for example, the website address was wrong, we had the wrong email address or phone number or fax, we should be able to get through all of those. A very special note, emails at Rotary International are absolutely unique. There is absolutely no sharing of emails between any 2 things whatsoever. So just like individual members of a club can't have the same email address, a club cannot have an email address of a member. So just be aware of that. So if you want to set a club email, it should be some sort of dedicated email that isn't shared or used by the club membership at all. All right, I'm going to go ahead and hit save since we added our unit number in there. And while we continue to wait for this, we can talk about some of the other information on the screen here. So I can see right now, just from while we're looking at the gray sign here, our club meets Sundays at 11 a.m. for at Jeff's House of Pancakes, but I currently can see here in the side that it says 11 p.m. So as soon as this save gets through, we'll go ahead and address that as well. And I just want to comment again for anyone who may have joined after, this is our development environment. It is not nearly as powerful or robust as our production systems, but we have to use this environment to show off integration for privacy and security reasons. So let's go ahead and also fix this meeting information. So I'm going to go ahead and click edit here. We will get this pop-up launched, and as soon as it is available, we'll go ahead and make those changes. There it goes. So in this case, I had 11 a.m. or 11 p.m. instead of 11 a.m. And obviously that is not correct because we meet in person and we meet at Jeff's House of Pancakes, which is conveniently at our office. So just to talk about a couple of things here, the time and day of your meetings are synchronized with Rotary International, as well as your meeting comments. If your club meets online right now for any reason for the pandemic, or you've chosen to continue that going forward, you can add information specifically to your club and district membership. So if you guys have a fixed meeting address, like if you have a Join Me or Zoom or WebEx or whatever the system you guys are choosing to use, you can list that URL in here, and this will only be available to the club members, a club and district membership. And then you can also include some additional comments in here if there's a special password or any special variants that someone would need to be aware of before they join. So let's go ahead. I'm going to uncheck this because our club does not meet online. And the last thing I'll just note here is if you guys ever do update your club information unrelated to Rotary systems, the latitude and longitude here can be automatically calculated by checking this checkbox. I know this is correct, but I'm going to go ahead and hit save. So if you guys changed your, your address, let's say instead of 2060 Winston Park, we moved across the street, it's now 2040 Winston Park Drive. We could change that, and when we check that checkbox down at the bottom, it will recalculate the address correctly. So we are good for all of our club information settings. So I'm just going to let this tab continue running in the background. Oh, looks like it's saving, so I might not have to, but I'm going to switch over to our club executives page. So one of the most important things to be aware of for our club officer integration is currently, or at the beginning of this Rotary year, Rotary only tracks 6 positions. They have increased that tracking to some new positions. We're working on integrating that and making that available in the near future here. But until such time, we only track the 6 Rotary track positions that have been tracking for several years. This is going to be your club's president, secretary, treasurer, membership chair, Rotary Foundation chair, and the club's executive secretary or executive director. The naming convention is the preference of the club, but those are the 2 names for them. Those 6 positions are integrated with Rotary International, and there are no other positions that Rotary currently tracks besides the 2 ones that I mentioned that we'll be introducing in the near future. But because of that, for example, a lot of people ask, well, I put my president-elect in, why didn't my president-elect go to Rotary International? Rotary does not track your president-elect, they track the president of that year. So if we had a president-elect listed and we wanted to make sure that they were over at Rotary International, we would want to use this next year feature to come into the next year. I'm actually going to go back for just one moment here. I'm going to carry over our list of positions. Now that I've carried over our list of positions, I'm going to go to the next year. And here in the 2022-23 Rotary year, I can report our upcoming year president. I'm going to pick Don Cheadle's here. We'll go ahead and hit save. And in a minute, we can also go take a look at this when we get to our compare and sync tools and see how that change got communicated over to Rotary International. So once again, the 6 positions that Rotary tracks are your president, your secretary, your treasurer, your membership chair, and your Rotary Foundation chair, and lastly, your club's executive secretary or executive director. Not all clubs have an executive secretary or executive director, but there's one extra special note that I do like to tell people about. The club's executive secretary or executive director is not required to be a member of the club, and this is the only position in the club currently that can have that designation. So, if you had, you can basically have a non-Rotarian member. They don't have to be in your club. All of your other club positions, your president, secretary, treasurer, membership chair, and foundation chair, all must be active members of your club. Rotary does not allow honorary members of the club to serve on any of those positions, again, with the exception of the executive secretary. All right. We have now covered all of our club information management and officers, so we're going to move right along to our compare and synchronize tools. I'm going to go ahead and close our tabs here. That's saved. Our club officers are good. So we have two compare and synchronize tools. This first tool, the standard compare and synchronize tool that we're taking a look at here, this will take all of the membership in your club and compare it to the membership of Rotary International and to figure out what the difference is between those two and try to help you guys identify any problems that might occur. So right away from this giant list of members in sync here, all of these members that are listed here, of the 28 that it found, these members match both their first name, last name, Rotary ID, and membership category match in both systems. It also means that should there be any changes in ClubRunner, that data should be successfully sent to Rotary, or if changes were made at Rotary, we could use these compare and sync tools to pull it down. So taking a look here, we have most of these members are good, but moving a little bit further down, we can start to see that there's a couple issues that we would probably want to deal with. So in our first group of issues that we have to deal with, we have two members in the club. Their names don't match between both systems. So the reason this is important is that for a lot of changes in the Rotary integration services, the last name and the Rotary ID of the member need to match. The last name and Rotary ID need to match on most changes. And in some changes, not only does the Rotary ID and the last name need to match, the first name also needs to match their membership information. So for example, had I put Jan Hares in as the club's president, that change I can tell you would have been rejected because it's not Jan Hares, it's Geneva Hares. Same thing with Lillian Rader and Lily Rader. So let's go ahead and try and fix both of these. We'll start with Jan here. I'm going to go ahead and hit compare. So on the comparison screen here, we can see that Jan's first name is in ClubRunner, and I'm going to make an assumption here that this is their nickname, and this is their given name at Rotary International. Now, I know for our club, we would prefer that Rotary have the given name. So instead of sending Jan's first name to Rotary, we're going to click this little box and reverse the direction of this change. And generally speaking, that is what this page is showing you. We can see here that Jan's last name, their gender, their join date is out of date, but most of their fields are correct across the board. If we want to change the direction, if it's pointing at Rotary International and it's orange, it will be sent to Rotary International. If it is blue and pointing towards ClubRunner, it will pull that information down from Rotary International. There are some fields that we are not allowed to modify, such as the club and Rotary join date. We can only copy that information down, and you will see specifically that these fields are gray and only point at ClubRunner. This means we can only read the data. As an extra special bonus, whenever you guys are copying down a first name from Rotary to overwriting ClubRunner, we'll actually get a prompt here that asks us if we want to take this member's first name and move it to their nickname. So looking down the field here, I am good with all of these changes. We're going to import the member's last name, or sorry, we're going to import the member's first name into ClubRunner. We're going to pull over their true club and Rotary join dates, and we're going to send their email address to Rotary International. So I'm going to go ahead and click Synchronize Select Fields here. And you can see that we got a prompt here about asking, you have chosen to overwrite this member's first name in ClubRunner. Do you want to copy their existing name to the nickname field? Okay, we'll copy it to the nickname field. Cancel will not. I am going to choose okay here. And it's going to ask us, are you sure? I am also going to say yes. And just for clarification, they can be undone in most cases, but you may need to take additional steps. Really what that message is saying, there's no way to automatically undo this change. So now here at ClubRunner, we can see that, or here on the compare and sync page rather, we can see that we've now copied over their first name, their last name is good. All of the other changes we have made are good. And this change is scheduled. Now it says for the next 24 hours, that's mostly a disclaimer. It's just being processed in the queue. There are definitely times where it could take more than a few minutes to synchronize a change, but in most cases, any changes you guys make in ClubRunner to any of the membership information or adding a member should be nearly instantaneous, less than 5 minutes. Occasionally, like I said, there are big queues, but it's very few and far between. I'm actually going to go ahead and refresh this page or reload this page just to see if those changes have finished processing yet. There is an RI integration queue that administrators can look at. I can't look at it here because it's in our older part of the system. And there's also our member and club update logs, which we're going to be moving on to in a minute here to continue looking at. So we can actually see now also, it said 24 hours, but now that that's gone and it matches in both systems, those changes are all completed and we have all of the information there. So I'm gonna return to our compare and synchronize page here. Come back in and take a look. So we also have Lillian Rader. I'm going to go ahead and compare her as well. We would be taking more or less the same actions here, but just to add some confidence. And then we'll talk about member type mismatches and members missing in both RI and ClubRunner. So in this case, unlike the previous case, we have more corrected information in ClubRunner. So you can see that we have the first name, their full name is here, their middle name is here, that's missing at Rotary, and this is their correct address. I know because I've talked to the member. So just like before, I'm going to choose to synchronize these fields and I'm going to press OK. Of course, if you wanted to pull something from Rotary instead, you can click on any of those arrows and make all of those changes. And we can see again that this is all successfully scheduled. So let's return to the compare and synchronize page to continue looking down at different issues. So we have fully eliminated all of our membership, all of our member name mismatches, and now we only have 2 additional groups of problems left: member type mismatches and members missing in either system. So for this member type mismatch, the member is currently honorary in our club. They are not honorary at Rotary International. If their status at Rotary is correct, I could dive into this member's profile and terminate them manually in ClubRunner and skip all of the notification to Rotary. If they were incorrect at Rotary International, the best thing to do would actually be to still terminate them and not send a notice to Rotary, and then reactivate that member. We'll go over that in a few minutes here as we continue on. And then the important thing is, after reactivating them as an honorary member, if there should have been no gap, like if they should have been an honorary member for some time now, you would also want to contact data@rotary.org. This does have to come from a club officer, and let them know that that member should have never been terminated, or should have never been terminated as an honorary member, and they should have been honorary from whatever date that is. So anytime you guys have a correction for issues, so some good examples: membership, incorrect terminations, or late additions or late terminations for that matter as well. Rotary requires 30-day notice on all of those things. So if it has been more than 30 days, the prescriptive remedy is to make the change as if it happened in the last 30 days, and then contact data@rotary.org and send them a notification. So we'll cover that a little bit more towards the end here. I can't dive into this member's profile just because of the state of our development system, but I'm going to continue on. So we have a group of members missing at Rotary, and we have a group of members missing in ClubRunner. Now, if you're eagle-eyed and you're taking a very good look at this list, you'll see that Jonathan Summers and Peter Francisco are already in Rotary. They're missing in ClubRunner. And if we take a look, the primary issue with these 2 members is that the ID we have for them in ClubRunner does not match their ID at Rotary. To fix these members, we don't want to use add member to ClubRunner. We don't want to use add member to RI, because in this case, these members are in both systems. They're just misclassified. So in this case, I would take the member's Rotary ID from Rotary International, go into the member's view and edit the member's profile, put their correct Rotary ID in, and return to this screen. Now, again, because this is our development environment, I can't access the member profiles right now, but I will show you guys how we can do that once we're in our production system. Now, if you've eliminated all of the false positives that are missing in both systems, so we have a member here, this individual, this is some Rotary sanitation of a real member profile, so there's nothing identifiable in there. And we also have William Gates. Now, the last thing I want to tell you guys before you use this add member to RI or add member to ClubRunner, the last thing you'd really want to do is make sure that you don't have another William Gates or this individual in your membership list. So I'm going to come up here and put Gates in here. And we can actually see here that William Gates has 2 membership records. I wouldn't want to add him to RI again because they already have a member that will trigger an integration issue. But what we could do is simply go terminate this member as a duplicate. And that is what we're going to be reviewing in a minute. So I will cover that in just a few minutes here. But that is the majority of the compare and sync tool. Ideally, clubs should have one list, members in sync, and it does signify that any changes made in ClubRunner should go to Rotary, bearing any logic or data validation issues, and any changes made at Rotary would be able to be synced. Now, I apologize. I usually touch on this right at the start, but I forgot to leave myself a little note about it. And I'll touch again at the end before we go into the Q&A. The most important thing to remember about the ClubRunner integration services is that they're only automatic in one direction. Changes made in ClubRunner will automatically be sent to Rotary for processing. For any reason, if you guys make the changes at Rotary International instead of ClubRunner, you'll have to come back into ClubRunner and repeat those changes or use the tools to repeat those changes. So for example, if you knew, Marcy Bosomwith here had gone to Rotary and updated her email address at Rotary already, and it was not in ClubRunner, you would be able to use the compare button to go into her profile and pull that information down. The order that you guys make those changes is absolutely up to you. You have that choice. You can either use ClubRunner to make the changes and have them processed automatically by our integration service, or you can go to myrotary.org, make any of the changes you need, and then return to ClubRunner to either use the tools to synchronize those changes or repeat the changes as required. So moving on from the member integration, we are now going to take a look at the this one. Sorry, I had some members already prepared. So this is the club executive compare and synchronize. And you guys can see right now that we have some of the data is really good. Our president, secretary, and treasurer are all perfect between both systems. But we have 2 positions, our executive secretary and director, and our membership chair that are out of sync, each in their own direction. So here we can see that the Zach here is, I'm in ClubRunner as the executive secretary, but I'm not in at Rotary International. Now, I will add one more note. For some reason, if this member was not a Rotarian, it has never been a Rotarian, you do need to work with Rotary International to get the member registered and have a Rotary ID. But again, they do not need to be a member of your club. Once you do have their Rotary ID, though, that can be placed into your profile, and that when you send them as an executive, it will be synchronized at Rotary. So in this case, both Zach and Zig are members of our club, so that shouldn't be a problem. I am going to go ahead and use check to pull this information in their appropriate directions. Now, on the other side, if Zach, myself, I wasn't the executive secretary, I can overwrite that in ClubRunner, and vice versa. If Zig should not be our membership chair, I could overwrite that at Rotary. But in this case, ClubRunner is right for the executive secretary, Rotary is right for our membership chair. We're going to choose synchronize selected positions. And not only will that send the executive secretary of me to Rotary, it will pull Zig down and list them in our club executives. So if I return to our club executives page for a moment here, you will see that Zig Ziglar is now recognized as our membership chair. So we're all good in that way. I'm going to return to our club executive compare and synchronize real quick, because I wanted to mention that we also added our upcoming year president for the 2022-23 year. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the next year, and I'm going to hit refresh. From here, we can see that Don Cheadles, the person we reported as the president, is recognized as the president for the upcoming year at Rotary International. So once again, the only positions that are supported for Rotary integration, at least as of today, are all listed here. That's the president, secretary, treasurer, foundation chair, executive secretary or executive director, and the membership chair. That is mostly the function of the comparing executive screens for ClubRunner. So the last thing that we have to do related specifically to integration services that I can show you off in our development environment is our integration logs. And we have integration logs both for membership updates and for club updates. So I'm going to go ahead and close this tab. I'm going to bring us right up to our integration archive, and I'm going to go ahead and refresh it because I've been making changes. So you guys can see here, of the 15 changes made in the last 3 months, there has only been one actual issue that we could not add this member to Rotary International. All of our other changes, setting myself as the executive secretary, updating Lillian's address, updating Jan's email, etc., has all been successfully processed through our system. Now, for this individual member who did not get processed, the club's executive secretary, which in this case is me and who we set that value to, is going to get a weekly notice that this member was unable to be added, and they will continue to receive that notice until they either click the link in their email that says mark as resolved, or they click this link here. We don't know the state of the issue or its resolution status until you tell us, but when you mark it as resolved, you can leave a comment. If you mark it as resolved from the email, it'll automatically add a quick comment for you, but that effectively, as soon as you no longer need to know about it or need to be reminded about it, you can mark that as resolved and leave a comment. So in this case, I don't know why. Error ID 0 is pretty, as far as integration events go, error ID 0 is pretty bad. You should not normally see that error like that, but in this case, I have no idea as a club executive secretary what ClubRunner is carrying me with this error. So I would reply to the email and say, hey, ClubRunner, can you guys help me understand why we can't add this new member? More common errors that you guys may run into are things like email changes. Rotary has really strict settings for their email. Can't share your email with anyone, for example, is a huge one. And the secondary one that we do see quite often is if a member's only email on their profile is also their sign-in ID. Rotary has extra special protections to protect it so that only the Rotarian in most cases can update that email address. If you run into those scenarios, you guys would need to contact, ideally, the Rotarian themselves would go to My Rotary and make that change. But in a circumstance where that is not possible, you guys can reach out to Rotary's Club and District Support Team or the Data Corrections Team for assistance on that matter. You can also see exactly what was changed when it was changed. So for example, if we wanted to take a look at Lillian's Raider address, we can hit details. We can see that the old data before we made the change was this address, and the new data after we made the change was this address. It shows us the member's name, the date we tried to make the change, the status of the change, and their member ID. Another common issue that you may run into is that you'll get an error about RID mismatch. Whenever you guys see RID mismatch, I don't have any showing up here right now, but effectively what that is telling you is that the member's first name, last name, and Rotary ID don't match between both systems, which is why we have it back on that big membership compare and sync screen to help sort out and make sure that those are directly identified. So we also have the club integration archive, and I'm going to go ahead and reload this page as well. And you can see that any of the changes, we've only had 3, our club meeting info, our club mailing address, etc. All the things are the same here. We can see when it happened, the type of information, when it was successfully changed, if it was successfully changed, and who made that change, and lastly, the specific details. So here we can see that we changed it from Jeff's House of Pancakes from 11 p.m. to 11 a.m. The very last thing that we're going to switch over to is our membership management. I want to I'm going to work on the transfer member search first. So very recently, we introduced a new add member system. In addition to our new add member system, we also have a member search. So this is very similar to the functionality that is at My Rotary that allows you to locate a Rotarian in advance and actually add them to your club instead of having to fill out all their information, omit their Rotary ID, and hope you got the right person. It's especially important if a member is transferring from Club A to Club B that you really try to get their Rotary ID. And not only does our transfer member search help to do that, our add member system now does as well. So first, I'm going to quickly show off the add member search by searching for a couple different things. You can see one of our past webinars, we were able to locate a member. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to try searching for an email. I'm going to search for that demo email that we had seen earlier. And when I do the search, it should hopefully return to me a valid member. So we can see that this email address belongs to Zach Woods, and that is their Rotary ID. They are located in Oakville, Ontario, Canada. Again, this is the same information that would be available to in My Rotary. We can see which club that member is associated with, and because this is an active member, we can see we are actually given a warning about that. And the reason we have this warning here is so you can be aware that if you were to attempt to transfer this member to your club today, you would not be able to. We're not going to stop you from adding them to the ClubRunner roster, but it will not be successful at Rotary International. So the same thing, we could also search by Rotary ID. I'm going to use the Rotary ID that's right in front of us there because that's the ID that I had prepared for our demo. But any valid Rotary ID should return you their member. And if all else fails, you can also do a name and country search. So I will do Sean Webinar, which is the member we saw right at the beginning. And once I hit search, it should bring me back. So here's our Sean webinar member. Now I know Sean's already a member of our club, but just for the purposes of the demo, I'm going to go ahead and hit add member. What this is going to do is it's going to pull any of the information that it's available to us at Rotary ID and pre-populate this field. So it pre-populates the Rotary member number, their first name and last name, and we actually prevent you from making any changes to these fields. The reason we prevent any changes to these fields is so that the integration should go through with the least amount of problems possible. Anytime a member's first name, last name, or ID mismatches between the two systems, you may end up creating a new Rotary, a new member, or the integration event may fail. So effectively, we're protecting you from making a bad change in this context. But of course, after the member is in your club, if their first name was wrong, if their last name was wrong, you can absolutely fix that. And as I mentioned, all of the information that we were able to obtain from Rotary was pulled out of there. So we have the member's ID, first name, last name, and their generic location information. Now, if I was adding an actual member of our club, I would assume I would have all their information in front of me and could continue filling it in. So just to give that a try here, I'm going to steal Sean's ID and I'm going to come over to our standard new member screen. And as you guys can see here, I can enter a Rotary member number field. I can enter a first name. I can enter a last name. I'm not being locked out of any of those. So I'm going to put the Sean webinar Rotary ID in here. I'm going to choose to report it to Rotary. I'm going to say it's today's date, but I'm going to put Sean Woods. Let's see, let's get him. We'll prefer not to identify. We will fill in our, I definitely don't want that email address. We'll use my very convenient autofill to fill in all of the information. We'll look to see that everything is good and we will hit add member. Now, it's maybe a little bit hard to see, but what we're actually doing before we add this member is trying to check, is there a collision at Rotary International? And in this case, we can see that Sean Webinar is the name of the member, not Sean Woods. But that ID matches, his location information matches. This is the member that I think that it is, so I'm going to choose this. You can actually see, I don't know how well you guys can see it, but as soon as I clicked it, it actually started to update the form automatically. So if I didn't want it, I could hit cancel, come back in and make any changes. Or if it really was that way, if I choose add new member, you can see that it went back. It's going to try to add this as a brand new member and it will admit their Rotary ID. always look through here. And of course, though, if you truly believe it's a new member, add it. If it's not, try to list it up as one of its matches or use the member transfer service. So that concludes all of the things that I can mostly only show you in development. Now we're going to talk a little bit more about adding members. Well, we talked about adding members and transferring members, but I want to show you guys about profile management, the details that integrate there, and how you add and terminate some of those members. So I am going to switch to our final production system here. I'm going to go ahead and log in as my normal demo user, Kevin. This is back to our production systems here. So I'm going to head to the standard administrative page. And we've got our administrative dashboards. So before we go into actually, no, I'm just going to keep going. So scrolling down here, I'm going to scroll down to the memberships area, and I want to go look at my active members list. From my active members list, I can see all of the members in our club. And let's just say we need to terminate a member. I'm going to choose Angela Bowman II here. If I need to make her an honorary member or just terminate their membership, change status is how I will accomplish that. So I'll go ahead and hit change status here. Or alternatively, if for some reason you were already in the member's profile making changes to it, you can also access the termination or change status features under the Rotary tab. So under Angela's profile here, I'm going to use change status. And you can see of what options we have here. So before I terminate her, let's say she is one of our corporate members. She's not or she's a satellite member. Rotary only tracks the primary membership type. These active satellite and active corporate are custom designations for membership at our club. So I could edit the active membership type, and that will swap her into the different category. There won't be any change to like club join date or anything else like that, because we're only changing the member's active membership type. We could change this member from active to honorary as well, or we can terminate the member. I'm going to choose to terminate the member in this case. So we're going to list the termination effective. I'm going to put it back to July 18th. I am going to put it down as business pressure, and I am going to report this change to Rotary International. Now, in this club, integration isn't enabled because this is in our production system. We're not going to be able to see the integration, but it will still get recorded in the log and it will still carry over. So as soon as I hit terminate, and a very important note about this, terminations in ClubRunner are instantaneous, even if you have them future dated. So just be aware of that. So we have been returned to the active list of members. That member has been moved to the inactive members list. On a case of you have a member returning to you, or maybe Angela shouldn't have been changed, maybe she should still be an active member, I can use this change status button again. I'll use it from the list of members instead of the profile this time. I can choose activate membership. I will list today as today's date for the club rejoin date. And even if, let's say I had made Angela's change in error, even if it was in error, I would still want to list a day after the club's, we need to at least list her one day after we terminated her from the club so the integration event can go through. But this would definitely be one of those cases where after you've reactivated the member, a club officer would want to send the member's full name, Rotary ID, and reason for correction to data@rotary.org, and quite simply say, we accidentally terminated Angela. She should have never had a gap in service for our club. Here is her full name, her Rotary ID. Please, can you make this correction? And usually you should get a response back pretty quickly, and Rotary will help you make those changes. So last thing to kind of talk about here is just the information that can be sent to Rotary International. And I want to talk about those opt-out settings. So we're going to go, the personal tab is where you would change the greatest majority of all of those tests, that information. But we're going to head right into the privacy section to talk about those privacy options. So we also have ClubRunner privacy options. These are specific to the mobile app and member directories. But for RI integration privacy, we have all of these different options. These are the same as the club opt-outs. And as you guys can see, because the club is opted out, I'm going to go ahead and hit edit here. When I scroll back down to the bottom, I can't actually manage any of these settings from my own for this member because the club has decided to opt out. So this would definitely be a case where if the club was fully opted in and the only thing was allowed was name, I as an individual member couldn't change any of these settings. But if the club had opted everything in, I would be able to not sync those changes. So just from this list here, the member's name, home address, business address, birthday, home phone, cell phone, business phone, fax, business fax, and email are all sent to Rotary International. Coming back to our personal tab here, the member's title and suffixes. And I just want to give a little call out. This member title is for an individual salutations, Mr., Mrs., etc., doctor, judge, honorable, etc. It is not for their personal, like their professional titles. It only allows 12 characters. And I'm only mentioning that because I know it happens. We get people who occasionally will put a job title in there, and that is just for your salutations or your greeting. Date of birth. So none of the partner or spouse information are sent to Rotary International. It is your home information, your work information, and the fields that we have already discussed. So that more or less wraps up all of the big ClubRunner RI integration changes. The last thing I will just note is things to be aware of in ClubRunner, and I'm sure Omar will go over them here in a minute as well. Our ClubRunner administration dashboards are always being kept to date. You can view all of our upcoming webinars that are available monthly. You can access the ClubRunner knowledge base at clubrunnersupport.com. You can go visit our community and connect with other Rotarians and other ClubRunner users, get questions and ask us for feedback, and you can always contact support. We're almost done with our ClubRunner changeover webinar series, but if you guys are interested in any other webinars coming up, you guys can go to clubrunner.com/training, or you can come to the ClubRunner training page and see everything else. We have a couple more webinars wrapping up this week and next. Oh no, sorry, no more webinars today, but we do have some more. We have a couple more webinars coming up next week. The live designer, website live designer, and our website content webinars. All right, so that concludes my portion. I'm going to go ahead and hand it off to Omar. Take it away, sir.
Thank you, Zach, and thank you for the wonderful presentation on the RI integration module. I'm sure you guys got a lot of information about reviewing your club's RI integration here. Let me go ahead and steal the share screen. I'm just going to go ahead, and I've logged into our production demonstration account, the Rotary Club of Greentown. I want to share while answering a lot of your great questions. I know a lot of you asked. I have a member who is existing at another club, or they've been terminated at their previous club, and I'd like to bring them into my club. I want to share. You can use a transfer new member button from your club's membership module, member list, and once your active member list loads, as we can see here, we can click this blue transfer new member button on the right side of the page. And I'm sorry, I don't have RI integration enabled on this club, but with yours, you will see a name, email option, or Rotary ID option to search for the member and transfer them into your club. I've been sharing some guides, and I've pulled this over to the the ClubRunnerSupport.com knowledge base. I want to show you how it looks when you're transferring a member. So on ClubRunnerSupport.com, I've searched for transfer new member, and in our search results here, I found this guide. How do I find and transfer new member? I want to show you this page. So I'm just going to go ahead, and we've clicked that transfer new member button. This is what the page will look like with your RI integration set. You will have the option to search for the member either by their Rotary ID, email address, or name and country. And if they are available, i.e. they've been terminated from their previous club, you can add them to your club using this page, and it will integrate at Rotary International for you as well. Another question I've received is we have some members who appear in two sections on the club's compare and synchronize page. I'm going to log into the demonstration account Zach had showed you guys, Tavistock. So I'm just going to go ahead and hopefully I can find an example here. So I'm going to go to the RI integration tab up here in the top blue bar. And then once I click that, I'm going to click compare and synchronize in the gray bar just below. Okay, and that'll pull up the club's compare and synchronize page for any members who are matched from their ClubRunner profiles to their Rotary International profiles. they will appear in this members in sync section with their full name in both systems matched, Rotary ID, and membership type. So just keep that in mind. You have this members in sync section, but below, sometimes I know a few of you have given us questions about this. Is you'll find a member who appears as missing in ClubRunner in this missing in ClubRunner section and missing in the RI section. And looking at our examples here, I see Jonathan Summers is listed in this section, and the reason he's appearing in both of these sections is because his two records are not matched on the Rotary ID. And if we just look at this ID column in the members missing in ClubRunner section, we can see his Rotary ID is 630412 versus his ClubRunner Rotary ID, which is 63041. We can fix this by copying the Rotary ID for John and then opening up his ClubRunner profile from this members missing in RI section and then entering the number. And I'm going to do that with you guys. So I'm opening up John's profile. And once it loads, pardon me, I forgot to mention, Zach had mentioned this, but a portion of our development demonstration account isn't working, and I'm not able to open up the member profile. But rest assured, if I opened up the members profile and click their Rotary tab and then pasted this number into their profile, they would match and then move into this members in sync section where their Rotary ID, full name, and membership type match in both systems. Okay, so that's another common question we receive. Another question that I know is common is how do you guys review your RI integration settings? And Zach had alluded to this earlier. If you're concerned your club isn't set with the RI integration, in your club member area, you can click the RI integration module in the top blue bar, and then the first item in the gray bar just below from the left is the RI integration settings. And once we click that, you can review your club's RI integration settings. And what you're really looking for is to make sure that this field is checked and that the integration has been confirmed by a previous club executive at the club. And you will also see this read and update status, which means that ClubRunner is able to send the changes to the member profiles to Rotary International. Okay, I know another question we had received was a lot about setting your club's meeting time and meeting information. So let me go ahead and pull up the club's club information. And to do that, I'm going to click the admin tab in the top blue bar and then click club info and settings in the gray bar just below. And once it loads for me here, as a matter of fact, just to keep everything simple for me, I think I'll use the Greentown account. So I'm going to leave this Tavistock account. I'm just going to stop our change. I'm going to return to our Rotary Club of Greentown, which is on production here. And I'm going to go ahead and pull up that club info and settings page so I can show you the online meeting information. There we are. So I pulled up the club's info on the right-hand side of the page to enter both a physical meeting address as well as a virtual email address, or sorry, meeting address. I'm going to click this edit button in the top right of the meeting information. And up here at the top, you can include one physical, or I should say one meeting time for your club. You can choose, say, Tuesday at 5 p.m. We can just enter that. If you have more meeting times, you can include them in the meeting comments just below it. For example, we're going to say we also meet Friday at 5 p.m., for example. So you can include a second meeting time just in those meeting comments. And if your club meets online, and Zach did go over this, you can choose to enable the online meeting section. I'm going to turn it off just so you see what this looks like. With it off, there's no options, but as soon as I check our club meets online, we can enter an online meeting URL, specifically our example Zoom address. And then you can also include some private details for that meeting, for this online meeting just below. And I do want to mention these details, these online meeting details will not be visible on the club for any visitor. A visitor would have to first log into your club website, and then they would see the meeting URL is active and they can click it to join the meeting. And then they would also have the ability to see the private details. Okay, so I don't have too much more time for more questions, but I do want to share some resources with you before we wrap up. So if you're interested in getting more training and signing up for more webinars, we have just a few more webinars this week coming up. And to sign up, you can go to clubrunner.com /training, and that'll pull up our changeover training series. We are at, I'm just going to scroll here, we're at membership and management for the RI integration. There's still a few more webinars on the 23rd, 26th, and 27th. Specifically, this website live designer webinar is something to keep your eyes peeled on if you're looking to update your club website. And I also want to mention, if you want to sign up for our regularly scheduled webinars, I'm going to go ahead and go to clubrunner.ca up here. Let me just go ahead and type that real quick, clubrunner.ca, and that'll take us to our official website. Up at the top, you can go to support and then click webinars, and you'll be brought to our regular webinar training schedule. So right now we have some of our changeover training posted at the top, but we also have our regularly scheduled webinars that happen every week. So definitely check this out. And before I leave you, I do want to make sure you have all this information in a nice slide. So I'm going to go ahead and pull that up for you. There we are. So you should see our contact information. If you have any questions, definitely feel free to reach out to us and email us at support@clubrunner.ca. If you want to join us on the community and share your ideas with other ClubRunner users, check out the community. And again, if you have any questions and you didn't get to reach us or email us to them, check out clubrunnersupport.com, our knowledge base. And once you're on the knowledge base, if you can't find your answer, use the contact us button. You'll see it up at the top right where you can click it and email us your questions. So thank you all so much for attending. And I hope you learned a lot, and please feel free to submit your questions to us. Thank you again.